Bible is against the Gospels, and this is why we are here. So we have to be here. I think there's another reason. The other reason is that I have the great fear that the story of bigotry, the story of hatred, the story of animosity to others is going to be taken by some to be the story of the real America, and it's not. This is not America. This is not our country. And we have to make sure that our country is known around the world as a place where liberty of religion, where respect for your neighbor, where love for your neighbor, where these things are the most prominent in our society. America was not built on hatred. America was built on love. And if we get away from that, and if we try to give that message out to the world, it's the wrong message. Our message is a message of working together, working for each other, taking care of the person who needs help, and making sure that we try to live everybody together in a good and holy life. That's what America is, and that's the message that I pray that we will get out to all the people of the world so that they will know who we are and who we're trying to be. So it's a great joy for me and a great privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Cardinal McCarrick. Next, we'll hear from Reverend Richard Cizik, who is the president of the New Evangelical Partnership for the Common Good, a truly visionary leader.
Thank you for inviting me, Ingrid. Cardinal McCarrick and my distinguished colleagues. We represent one of the largest constituencies that America has. That is the religious constituency with all of its breadth that you see here, from Roman Catholic to mainline Protestant to evangelical, Muslim, Orthodox. We are all here. And we're here together to say what has already been said, namely that we are governed in this country by a constitution whose First Amendment guarantees the free exercise of religion. And governments at every level have understood that they have to respect that right, from the largest cities of our nation, such as New York, to the smallest, such as Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Protection of religious liberty is what evangelical Christians most of all have come to appreciate. It is the one practice I think is most exceptional about America. And by the way, millions have come here through the centuries because of it, including millions of evangelical Christians. Now we know that the controversy that began at Part 51, you see, has become Exhibit A in this contest between popular passion and constitutional principle. But that contest has moved into the smallest of communities around America. And I'm here to say on behalf of my community, the evangelical constituency of America, that those mainly conservative Christians who are responding to their Muslim brothers and sisters, their fellow Americans, with anti-Muslim bigotry or hatred, they are openly rejecting, you see, the First Amendment principles of religious liberty, which we as evangelical Christians benefit daily. And to those who would exercise derision, you see, bigotry, open rejection of our fellow Americans for their religious faith, I say, shame on you. As an evangelical, I say to those who do this, I say, you bring dishonor to the name of Jesus Christ. You directly disobey his commandment to love our neighbor. You violate the command, you see, not to bear false witness. And not least of all, you drive the watching world further away from any interest in our gospel message. Lastly, let me say one more thing. Watch out for so casually trampling on the religious liberty of others. You may be able to do that when you are the majority. But if you undermine liberty for other people's children today, your own children may one day see their religious liberties deprived from them. And the principles that protect Muslims today here in this country will protect Christians, Jews, and others tomorrow. And that's what makes this a great, great country. I thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Reverend Cizik. Now we'd like to hear from Dr. Michael Kinnaman, who's the General Secretary of the National Council of Churches.
Thank you, Dr. Madsen. I'm the General Secretary of the National Council, but I'm pleased to say that behind me this afternoon are representatives or heads of a number of our member churches. The National Council is an umbrella group comprised of 36 of the major denominations in this country. And behind me are leaders in the Greek Orthodox, the Armenian Orthodox, the Episcopal, Methodist, Lutheran, Baptist, and other communions. And together we want to say as strongly as we possibly can that we identify ourselves with the statement, excerpts of which you just heard, that we denounce the kind of anti-Muslim bigotry which we see across the country, certain parts of the country at this moment, and we identify ourselves strongly with the call for religious tolerance and acceptance. We believe at the National Council of Churches that the diversity of this country strengthens our faith, that we are made deeper and richer in our own Christian commitment by virtue of the relationships that we have with the Muslim and Jewish communities, and it's a great pleasure and an honor to be with those colleagues at this meeting today. I want to say that at this meeting, we, as you heard, adopted a statement which we present to you that we hope will be read across the country, perhaps in congregations, in mosques and synagogues. But we also talked about next steps that we could take as communities of faith to carry this word even farther beyond these walls and these organizations. We talked, for example, about calling on our networks, our constituencies, to replicate this kind of meeting in local settings across the country, so that what happens now in Washington at a national level will happen also in targeted cities. And we talked about how we might do that using our own media networks and also thanks to you. We believe that for example, at the National Council of Churches, we have made national statements that call for acceptance of Muslim neighbors and have spoken out as strongly as we can about the issues you've heard today. But we also have called on state councils of churches, including, for example, in Florida, to initiate activities in their own communities that will say no to this kind of bigotry. And we're getting a response already. We hope that that will continue into the future. So that was a part of the meeting today, not simply to stop with the statement, although it responds to the moment and must be heard, but also to carry that word of education and hope into the future by calling on local communities, our own networks, to replicate it. I want to say only one other word. You heard this from Reverend Cizik, and I appreciated so much his comments. Christians in the West have often been responsible for the kind of intolerant rhetoric that we now hear from various places in this country. So it's important for us as a Christian community to say an unequivocal no. That is not who we are. Our own faith calls on us to bear not false witness, but true witness, and that means to speak out on behalf of Islam, for example, as a peace-loving and peace-teaching faith, and to say that these are indeed our brothers and sisters. But I want to add only one other word. At the National Council, we also know that there are minority Christian communities around the world now that also feel themselves to be threatened by extremist voices in situations that are predominantly Muslim, because extremists in those settings may use the rhetoric in this country as a pretext. And so it also is in Christian self-interest to speak out strongly now a word of tolerance, knowing that our Muslim colleagues in other places are doing the same on behalf of minority Christian communities there. We live in an interdependent world. It is very important that we speak this word of interfaith acceptance, hospitality together. Thank you.
We'll take questions and answers, or questions in 1 minute. Let me just say quickly, just following on Reverend Kinnaman's point. For the last 9 years, Muslim Americans have been trying to get the message out that we reject the extremists, Muslim extremists' view of Islam, their justifications for violence, their justifications for militancy. And it's been very difficult for people to hear that message because the actions and statements of the extremists are more dramatic and they get more attention. And we have had our friends in the Christian community and in the Jewish community consistently support us in saying, these are mainstream Muslims. The majority of Muslims that we know are law-abiding, are ethical, good people. And I just want to say, for whatever international audience there may be now, for any Muslims in other parts of the world that are listening, yes, you may have heard some of the loud voices of some Christian extremists and others in this country who hate Islam, who hate Muslims, who are making very hurtful statements. But they do not represent America. They do not represent Christianity or Judaism. These people who are here with us today represent the true values and views of the vast majority of American Jews and Christians and just American citizens. So don't use these incidents, as hateful as they are, as hurtful as they are, to justify any kind of hatred against America or Christians, American Christians or Jews. With that, I'd like to open the floor for some questions.
If I can ask...
Please identify yourself.
Sure. Scott Duman from ABC7 News. Cardinal, if I
Scott,
can
one
ask
second,
you...
please. We'll get you right next, okay? Sorry, Adele Banks from here.
Hi, Adele Banks from Religion News Service. Sorry, good to see all of you. I was just wondering if anybody else could speak to other next steps and also a little bit about what happened at this meeting, how many of you were there, how long it took to come up with the statement. But I'm also wondering about specific other next steps besides the ones that were mentioned. Thank you.
Okay. Rich.
In terms of the next steps, my name is Reverend Richard Kilmer, K-I-L-L-M-E-R. I'm the Executive Director of the National Religious Campaign Against Torture. We've been concerned since our founding in 2006 that the victims of U.S.-sponsored torture have been Muslims. One of the next steps that has been discussed is the possibility of another meeting like this one, but much larger, with people of various faiths across the country coming together to talk about what are the real strategies we need to do together to end this anti-Muslim bigotry. Because it's the people who are in the pews who have the potential for having the most power, or have the potential for bringing about the kinds of changes that we want to. So to bring those folks together, soon we hope, 4 months perhaps, to come together, to hold hands, to figure out what strategies we need now to make sure that this blight on Americans' spirit and soul dissipates. Thank you.
Cardinal McCarrick, if I can ask you, Scott Duman from... We got it now?
No. The other way, Scott.
I'm not going to get it.
It's on. That's as good as we're going to get, I think. I'll be loud enough. Cardinal McCarrick, if you might, so much of the past 24 hours, the talk has been about what's planned in Florida with this burning of the Quran, and at the same time with the response that we've heard from General Petraeus, where he has indicated that it could perhaps put military overseas in harm's way even greater were this video to go worldwide, as it most likely would. What is your concern about the potential danger to our men and women overseas as a result of this? And also, what does it say about interfaith relations right now?
Well, that was one of the reasons why I said we need to get the right message out. We need to get the message out that this is not a country where these things happen by the majority of people. These are and the acts of very small extremist people who feel they're doing the